to the RockDown Podcast. I am your host, Mr. Cheese, and man, it is hot tonight. It really is way too hot. So without further ado, please welcome Billy Graziadei of Biohazard to the show.
What's up, man? I gotta say, in all my years talking to people, nobody ever pronounced my name as correctly as you did. That's amazing, Stuart. Phenomenal.
You. Well, now if I mention your name at all, I'm just going to go Billy G because I figure I'm not going to get it twice in a row.
All right. Well, listen, I'm a big cheese lover, so we'll just be on first name basis, and that's cool with me.
Okay, that sounds brilliant. So if there's anybody who has been kind of living on the moon or something for the last God knows how many years and don't know about yourself and Biohazard, can you just kind of give us a quick fill-in about you and the band's history?
Sure. So born in Boston, raised in New York, made my bones with Biohazard. It's like a hardcore metal rap kind of thing. We started in early 90s and did a bunch of records together and made a lot of noise around the world, had a great time. We still do it. A couple of original members split along the way, but our drummer and I and my guitar player Bobby, we're all still the core guys. We did like 10 records. I formed a band called Power Flow, which is with the singer of Cypress Hill, Sendog, Christian from Fear Factory, and a few other guys. Then I ventured off and added a solo band called Billy Bio, which I'm on record number 2 right now. We're also almost done record number 2 for Power Flow, which is, they're both fucking killer. And then I just fell in love with a new company I have called Crew Socks, and it's the concept that I fell in love with. The socks are phenomenal, dope. If you go to crewsocks.com, you can check them out. But anybody I tell that's business first, and I tell them the concept, they're like, "Why are you doing that?" So the concept is, check this out: the more I can give away, the more successful the company is. So the company is based on this philosophy of give back. So, besides having dope socks, we have a bunch of great stuff in the line coming down the pipeline. But for every sock that you buy, we give away 1 pair to someone in need, someone homeless. We have a bunch of organizations that we work with here in the States. We're always looking to expand. But if you buy 2 pairs, we give away 3 pairs. If you buy 3 pairs, we give away 5 pairs. So it exponentially grows, and our goal is to give away as much free shit as possible. And the cool thing about it, I get to give them away. When people ask for a Biohazard shirt, I'm like, yeah, all right, here you go. But people can't ask me for a sock, because the whole point is to create awareness, to give back, to I'm asking people for help, helping others, and that's my quest. So my 2 partners and I are really passionate about this, and it's a new thing we just launched. But music is my forte, and lives in my veins. But we've always been passionate about helping communities in need, and it's one way for us to help give back to the world.
Well, that is phenomenal, and in that case, I'm going to make an executive decision. We've been largely avoiding having sponsorship on the podcast, and we've actually only granted sponsorship to one other company, which is a company called Cope Notes. And basically, they do kind of mental health and stuff like that. But if you guys would be interested in sorting out some sort of advertising and stuff, we will make you one of the sponsors of the show. Obviously, there'll be no money involved from our end of it. So you can have a spot on every podcast that we do, and we'll put links and everything on the website and drive some traffic to what you're doing.
Bro, that's beautiful. Thank you. It goes against my tough guy image, but I got goosebumps. I'm telling you, every time I share my passion for Crew Socks with friends, and it's contagious, and that's the most beautiful thing. It's not about growing the bank account. it's about growing our heart, growing the world, making somebody's day, a little bit nicer, a little bit more comfy, a little bit more cozy with a dope pair of socks. Because that's great about Cope. I'd love to hear more. I'm going to Google them and check them out. They, anybody who is into, leaving your mark in the world and trying to make someone's day a little bit better, you understand the value of that. And it's like I said, it's not about growing the bank account, it's about growing the hearts in the world. And the smiles that you see on people's faces. Pulling over on the side of the road, you come off the 405. If you give somebody $1 for, you don't know if he's going to buy, a bottle of booze, a rock of crack, but if you hand him a pair of socks, the dude's, he's going to put them on, or she's going to put them on, and it's a smile. So that's not what we do. I mean, I'm just talking about in general. But what we do is, like, we collect the socks. We wait until we get, a bunch of socks, cases and cases, and then we go to different charities that we're involved with, and we donate them and drop them off. And Christmas is coming up, so right now we're saving for a massive run for Christmas. But yeah, dude, awesome. Thank you. Let's continue talking more on the email about that. But anyways.
Absolutely. Yep, absolutely. Okay, well, we will then head straight into the absolutely bizarre questions that make up this podcast. And the first one is, what traits do you most like and dislike about yourself?
Oh, it's the same trait. I have this work ethic that I love and keeps me on point. It gets me involved in so many beautiful, awesome things. And it's also as equally damaging to my relationships, and to the things that I'm also involved with in some ways. But what I've gotten really good at is being able to juggle different hats. I can put them on, and I can be, the guy who's, working with crew socks and that whole idea. And when I'm in the studio, I'm there as Billy Bio, or working with Sendog for Power Flow, or if it was Biohazard, it would be Biohazard. But the ability to turn on different switches has gotten much more fluid in the recent years, and that's made me really enjoy it. So I'm a little intense, and as a producer working with bands, it's always the same reaction. I spit out so many ideas. They're like, huh. And usually the writer of the band ends up being my best friend, because then I always have respect for people, but once they see that I'm not just some kook just trying to change things for the sake of things, my ideas always come from a reason, and there's always some kind of method to the madness behind how I explain things. It's not like, I think it should be like this. Why? I don't know. I like it. I have reasons to my ideas. They stand on a foundation. Anyways, so that energy has gotten increasingly parabolic in my middle age, and I got to say, it started happening around a Biohazard reunion. We all got back together, and we started we did a bunch of tours, and we had such a great time together, and it kind of like just rekindled my youth energy. And I eat healthy. I don't I kicked all the substance abuse issues, and I'm a big jiu-jitsu guy. So, like, healthy mind, healthy body, I think it all comes into play. And I know it's not the coolest rock and roll thing to say, but I'd rather be able to play and be healthy and be around to make music for everybody that I like, for myself, and hopefully people out there like, for the next 10, 15 years, and I'll do it to the grave, rather than just burn out and be done with it, and throw in the towel next year.
Yeah, absolutely. So, because I 100% understand what you say about wearing the different hats and about just having a head full of ideas. Do you find it difficult to switch off?
No.
Oh, really?
No. Yeah. It's really odd how the creative side was always strong. Obviously, we're artists, but the creative side kind of spilled over to the business side. So now for business, I have crazy ideas. I was never really, business was never strong, in my repertoire I was coming up as a kid and even in early adulthood. And I probably would have done better if I studied more business. But I'm who I am because of what I'm made of and my experiences. So I'm no regrets, no apologies. I'm happy, but that's another thing that has grown a lot. It's like even my partners in Crew Socks, Edward and Angela, they're two teachers who are passionate about what we're doing, but their heads spin sometimes at my ideas. They have to be like, okay, hold, let's take care of these three things that we first talked about. Let's talk. We'll do that next. We'll talk about that stuff next.
Yeah.
But I think as a creative, you can probably relate, and most people that create, it's like a thing that you can't control, and you don't want to control it.
No.
And I got one of the things I've learned. I've thrived a lot during the pandemic, and as sad as it is, and as horrible, I found to have more times. I'm used to being isolated, and we're always in a tour bus or a van or in a strange room with full of people, and you feel like you're all alone. So like those elements are for an artist that's what we live. But I think the extra free time has given me time to flourish in all the new areas, picked up new hobbies, new traits, even being able to find a way to train, and getting closer to, spending more time with the family. It's the same all around, I think. But I actually, I never thought I'd say this, but I kind of have enjoyed it. So.
Yeah, well, I live in the middle of nowhere with my wife. We kind of never see, we never see anybody anyway, really. So I've been exactly the same. The only thing for me is I've just been busier than ever. So it's just been, I understand if somebody's makeup is they need to live differently. But for me, I'm the same as you. It's just like, well, this has been fine. It's just given me even more time. But on the flip side, I've been so much busier that it's kind of leveled itself out anyway.
Yeah, you were survivors. You make do. You adapt. You have to be a little bit flexible and bend with it, and you'll survive.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll get through it.
Yeah, definitely.
We'll get through this. It's unfortunately it's not going to be the last time, I think, but definitely wasn't the first.
No,
just the most severe that we've all seen.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yes, indeed. So, completely different track. What's the most spontaneous thing that you've ever done?
The most. I'm a rock and roll kid, man. A punk rock kid. Grew up in New York. I've done so many spontaneous things. As my son's sitting next to me, I'm going to have to, edit these. But, Jesus, spontaneous. I would have to say, it has to be. I can't even say it in front of him. Spontaneous. I would say the rock and roll debauchery backstage. That's like a cliche thing in it, but it's true. It's just like, being caught in the moment, and you go with the flow, and it just, before you know it, there's a videotape of you or some story going around of you, and you're like, what was that? I don't remember, because you were drunk, or you weren't with it, whatever. Those stories are out there. There's a real funny Biohazard video. It's these days, I shouldn't even bring light to it, but it's in the cancer culture. It's not something to laugh and talk about, but there is some funny stuff on the internet, and if you dig deep, hopefully you won't find it, but you can.
Well, there's this, go on.
I know. I'm being around the bush. You really want to hear?
No. With right. With regards to
you know what? I'll tell you. I can tell this and keep it clean and respectable, because I'm not the guy involved in it. But so I've always been the guy, the business guy. Well, not the business guy, but the guy who is like, just run the merch, take care of collecting, the merch sales and paying out the club, or, there was a tour manager who takes care of the band stuff. But I was always like the merch guy, that dealt with our merch person if we were fortunate to have somebody. But there's this one clip out there that's I'm talking to the camera, And I'm just talking about the tour. I think we were on tour of Pantera or something, but I'm like, yeah, tonight we're going here. I'm just talking about like antics backstage and during the day as I'm settling with the merch, right? So the camera behind me, you can see over my shoulder, there's another room to the dressing room. The door's wide open, and one of the guys in Biohazard's in the back doing his business, you know, his backstage antics. But and I knew what was going on, but I'm oblivious because that shit happened all the time. And I'm just talking, and suddenly, but the cameraman notices it, and he's like, "Holy shit, this guy's talking." I don't know if Billy knows what's going on behind him or what, but he was just pretending to listen. But the camera zooms in over my shoulder. I'm off camera, and it zoomed in on this guy's ass. So that's
Yeah,
that.
that's perfect. And now we're going to go from one complete extreme to the other. You were saying about the whole punk rock kid and all that sort of stuff. So, when was the last time you cried?
Oh, dude, I got a little girl and a son, both awesome kids, and that they can. My daughter can pull. I'll stand up, pull a knife on me, try to mug me, try to grab my wife's purse. I'm fine with all that stuff. I can handle any. I mean, I've been through it all. But my little girl, she can pull those strings, bro. If I'm like trying to talk to her, and she's like, "Get out." I'm like, "What do you mean, get out? Get out!" Like, get out of the room. The old school dude that from my father, the old Italian guy, is like, "Don't fucking talk to me like that in my fucking house." But that little girl, bro, she can pull the tears. I'll sit there like a little puppy dog, waiting for a little bit of attention, because she's my little girl. She's my little girl, you know.
Amazing.
And then my son and I have my son and I have a great relationship. So that it has to be the emotional strings the kids
Yeah.
pull. They can pull those
Yeah.
strings.
Yeah.
And now my son's looking at me. He knows the cat's out of the hat, huh? Cat's out of the bag.
How old are they?
I keep that private.
Oh,
They're young kids.
yeah. Oh no, that's fair enough. That's absolutely fair enough. Yep.
Yeah, it's only because I remember when our daughter was born. I don't call them fans. The people I meet, I consider family and friends. But some friends on the internet were just talking about, oh, it's so nice. Post pictures of, and then they said my daughter's name, and I remember in my heart seeing how I don't know this person's last
Yeah.
name
Yeah.
or their spouse's name.
Mm-hmm.
How do they know my child's name?
Yeah.
And I just, for some reason, I was like, you know what? I need to protect their privacy, and then occasionally I'll post a picture and stuff, but I let them, they can make their own way. And if they want their father's help when they get older,
Yep.
they can have it.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to force them into the limelight. That's just my choice.
Yeah. No.
So
I mean, the whole social media is such a double-edged sword, isn't it?
yeah, the bite and the sting,
Yeah.
and the propping up are equal there.
Yeah.
Can you please? I just said his name. No, there you go. It's out. No, go figure. I named my son. His name is.
Well, we can seriously
yeah.
we can right. I'll seriously bleep that out anyway, because the story behind what you're saying is far more important than anyone knowing that. So that's all good.
Let's call him Rumpelstiltskin.
Okay, that's a good deal. Okay, so one of the few music questions that I've got for you is: do you have a favorite lyric, either from one of your own songs or from somebody else's?
Ooh, yeah. There's millions. I gotta say, on my solo stuff, my wife said to me, she goes, "This is like this is you." I'm like, "Of course it's me." She goes, "No, it's you talking." I'm like, "Of course it's me. I write the songs, I write the music, the words, the lyrics are how I feel about issues and things and matters in the world." She goes, "Yeah, but I feel like I'm talking to you." I'm like, "Because I don't pull any punches. I don't talk shit. I tell what I feel, speak the truth from my heart. That's it."
Mm-hmm.
And so, I for the first time in my life, as much as I love playing with Power Flow and playing in Biohazard, I love the band, dichotomy, the way a band clicks together. There's this tension and creativity that just makes things better. And when someone's throwing a guitar across the room because they don't feel they're being heard with their idea, that's passion. That adds to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that part of it. But I'm not going to paint a picture, Stuart, and call you up and say, "Hey, Stuart, hey, buddy, come on over for a beer and I'm going to give you some paintbrushes. I want you to fix my painting, or just change it how you want it.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
Yeah.
You know, I get it, and I like that the way it works in a band relationship. It works because that's, you know, the sum of the whole is the sum of the parts,
Yeah.
and I love that about that. But there's something about having that vision in my head or in my heart, hanging on the wall, and I look at the painting and I see what I've envisioned, and it's not painted. It's me. It's like plugging a fucking cord right into my heart and soul and
Yeah.
giving it to your ears.
Mm-hmm.
So I dig that. So sorry, I got off on a tangent.
No,
You're
that's
asking for
fine.
specific lyrics. I'm a big PMA guy. My wife said to me once, I have a new song called "Looking Up," and maybe the title will change, but feeling good tastes great. And like, I lived and carried around so much negativity in my life for so many years, um, that I started to it started to eat me up. And I'm going to draw a blank on lyrics now. I'm going to start talking philosophy behind
That's
who
fine.
I am and what I stand for. But um, she said to me once, she's like, we were in Brazil, and she's Brazilian. We were in Brazil, and we were walking, going on a walk in in one of the hills or something. And she's like, why don't you look up and take the beauty in? She goes, when you look down, you miss all the beauty in the world. And that was like, and it's true. It's so an obvious thing, but I'm in the street in Brooklyn, in any city. I'm aware of my surroundings, but when sometimes you get things they weigh down your shoulders. You kind of just pondering what's going on and where you want to be and where you were and where you're going to go. And you miss a lot of things that are up in front of you. So the PMA thing is, helped my life change around a lot. Um, I think that when are eating a bowl full of negativity, and you're watching the news, the left against the right and the right against the left, and you know you feel it. People are just attacking you for everything in the middle. It's just like a meal of fucking negativity that just brings you down.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you go with to pick out one line that sums up everything, it's hard. Something's gonna pop on me, in my head while we're talking, but I'll get something before we go. It'll just be like, there you go. Here's the lyric. Here's the line.
No, well,
It's gonna be one of my, yeah.
No, that's fine. The funny thing is, and I've never discussed this on air, but just the way you're talking there, I'm terminally ill, and normally when you tell people that, they kind of go, "I'm sorry." That's the first thing people say to you, and I actually think it's probably the greatest gift that I've ever been given, because I had a very few days where I thought, fuck me, this is depressing. Fuck me, this is not good. I'm dying. Then I kind of realized that everybody's dying. I've just been given the heads up. And the other thing was, I thought to myself, I've been in love for now 27 years with the woman of my dreams. We're together 24/7. And now I don't have to deal with any of the bullshit, because everything is like, yeah, well, I'm dying. So fuck you, and it's put me in such a good place. It has put me in such a good place because nothing matters. It's just like, so the whole PMA, 100%. I completely hear what you're saying.
Yeah, dude. It's a normal thing for people to say, I'm sorry, but I feel you. And I got it. I agree with you. That's what it is. When that, that whatever it is, that you got one song left in your set, you fucking put everything you got into that song.
Yep.
And I always knew that, I gotta say, I got Irish blood in me, and it's about a celebration of the life you've had. I lost my mom when I was young, and it was like, for years I carried around, she's missing everything, and when we had children, it was like, or oh, she never met my wife, and she
Yep.
never met my children. But you know what? I got to sit down with her, and she sang with me while I played piano. Those are the things, like the things that I got to do were awesome. Your point, like the years that you've been in love with your wife, that's the beautiful thing of your life.
Yep.
Those are the accomplishments. You're immortalizing yourself in these interviews. That's no one can ever take that away.
Mm-hmm.
That's forever.
Yep.
So as creators, we create things that are there forever, and that's a blessing. That's a beautiful thing. So I'm proud and happy to have the chance to talk with you, and help immortalize all those words for eternity.
Well, the pleasure is definitely mutual.
Negative thoughts suck. I mean, that's the whole reason I created Cope Notes in the first place, to train your brain to think healthier ones. With just one text a day, you can learn to combat stress, loneliness, anxiety, depression, and more. Cope Notes combines peer support, digital journaling, and positive psychology to improve mental and emotional health. We've already helped thousands of people in almost 100 countries around the world start living a happier, healthier life. And now we want to help you. To try Cope Notes for yourself or share it with a friend, visit www.copenotes.com. In case you missed it, that's www.copenotes.com. Anyway, let's get back to the show.
So, kind of like we said, we really go from one thing to the other on this show. Have you ever been in a self-driving car?
No. Oh, yes, I have. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I have. Buddy of mine had. Well, I don't know if you consider Tesla's self-driving. I guess there's autopilot. They do self-drive. So yeah, that's the only.
And how, like, do you think, I mean, I know it's probably going to be a few years down the line that this will get to the stage, but if it was at the stage where you kind of did an Uber and a car just pulled up with no driver and was going to take you from A to B, what would your kind of head be saying? Would you be fine with that, or how do you think you'd be?
Yeah, two things. One, I'm a muscle car guy. I love, it's got to have horsepower.
Yep.
Number one, the electric motors, from Nikola to Tesla and Neo to everybody in between, it's the torque. It's unbelievable. But Joe Biden said it something the other day, how he has a love for Corvettes, and he can't wait till they're making an electric, all-American made electric Corvette. I was like, wait a minute, there's two different worlds. You can't, a Corvette versus But anyways, that aside, the other side of my personality, which there's a lot of duality in my art and what I do. The other side is I've grown with the ages and times, and this pandemic crap that we've all been living through. If it hasn't made anybody in the world a lot more flexible with things, then I think we're all going to easily accept self-driving car.
Yeah.
But you can't let go of the classics and the past. I'm not a big guy about erasing the past, right or wrong. It is what it is. I don't think that we should try to cancel things that we don't agree with.
Yeah. Yeah.
So with that, fucking keep the muscle cars around. I rebuilt a 1974 42 and sold it when we had our daughter. It sat in the garage for so long, and then I was starting up a new band. I ended up selling it, to my dismay. Now it's hard to talk about it, but I sold it to this guy, Chris Humphreys, a professional basketball player, but he was married to Kim Kardashian.
Oh, okay.
So there's a video of them. Anyways, making a long story short, I was like, that car had so much horsepower. I put my daughter, she was like 2 when I sold it, or no, 3 maybe. But so there's 2 funny sides of that story. The horsepower, though, I put everything in all my energy went into getting as little gas mileage as possible, which is like, that's the goal. You want it power,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, but when I sold it to Chris, there's a video of him. And one thing I didn't fix was the door. And these are the great things about the past. There's, in all their beauty, there's a lot of flaws, and the flaws add to the beauty. But you had to lift to get in the driver's door. You had to lift like even if it was unlocked, you still had to lift it up and out. You can't just press the button and pull.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
there's a video of him they sent me they were getting caught with paparazzi or something, and they're trying to run in, and Kim's already in, and he's trying to get in, and they couldn't get in. And I'm like, I watched the video laughing. I'm like, oh, dude, I forgot to tell you about that. So, and the other funny thing I'm like, I could actually walk around and say, because anybody with a convertible hot rod is going to take their date. And if you're married, then take your wife, and you're going to have fun in the, the old school proverbial back seat of the car. Right?
Yep.
So
Yep.
I'm like, so that's pretty cool. I can actually say that Kim Kardashian was naked in backseat of my 1970 442 convertible with 500 horsepower in the rear. Pretty cool. I can end it. I can end it there. I don't have to say I wasn't there, which is the truth. But if I tell the story to a bunch of friends, I can just say, yeah, it's true. It's true.
Well, that now reminds me of actually another story that I have literally never shared with anybody. So this is as good a place to do it. My wife and I, when we were kind of first together, we were just out on a walk, and we ended up in a cornfield, and we ended up doing what you do in a cornfield. And suddenly this dog came just out of nowhere. And I kind of looked up. Now I'm like, I'm completely naked. And I kind of just stuck my sort of my upper half up, looked across, and there's a guy just out for a walk, and he called his dog, and his dog went running. He clearly saw me. I clearly saw him. And I looked at my wife, and she laughed. And I always remember, she said, "I don't care. He didn't see me." It was like you said, those are the memories that what we were talking about before. They are priceless. They're the things that still make you smile, still make you laugh, and it's that's it's all good. It's all good.
That's what leaving your mark in the world, because it's laughing at that. Your wife's gonna always remember that. I'm gonna remember that story. And those moments. Leave your mark, man. Leave. I like extreme personalities. I get along with extreme personalities, from super depressed people to super manic people. I love it, and everything in between. That gives me another thing we were talking about a second ago. So as an artist, and as most people have this swing to their personality, and some people like to label themselves as manic, depressive, or whatever. But it's just the natural flow of life. It's the ebb and tide of your moods. And the thing is, for me, it was always, they always hinged on my creativity. I get in this manic mood of creation that's coming off of inspiration from the downside, and then I get so high off of it, and then it swings me into this downtrend, and then this new inspiration is formed. And it's gurgling and boiling and cooking on the back burner, and then it boils over into this new manic stage, and I love that. But to try to level out and live on Prozac or whatever, to kind of have a more even keel thing, that's not for me, man. I can deal with the mood swings. Other things in life help me, keep it even keel that way. But I love those swings in life, And on that note, you asked, I told you something would come in my head. So here's a lyric that I think you'll relate to. It's a new song. Turn your face to the sun and the shadows fall behind you. Gratitude is the best attitude. Looking up helps get me through. Do you see an endless hope, or do you see a hopeless end? A broken soul dies alone. A broken heart in time will mend. So that's my PMA thing. But it's got a lot of darkness, and everybody can relate to that. And I was talking to my buddy yesterday from a band called Concrete. Jesus Christ, his name is Mayhem, but Concrete Dream is the band. But great new up and coming band. They haven't been there Europe yet. Hopefully, I can take them. And we were talking about their new record, and he was talking how he kind of grew up on Biohazard when he was a little kid, because his parents, believe it or not, his parents were Biohazard fans, which is pretty awesome. But it shows the age difference between my boy and I. So,
Yeah.
and I was talking about, like, when you hit something on the head from your heart and that resonates with people, it rings forever. People can relate to that. So
Yeah.
on it's one thing, and I remember when I was coming up as a young kid, I liked Iron Maiden, but I came from punk rock and hardcore, and I hated everything metal. But the guys in Biohazard actually turned me on to more metal, and I I grew to respect and eventually love Iron Maiden. Although my roots are still in the punk rock and the hardcore stuff. So as one of the metal bands, I remember saying something in a quote, not a quote, but in a magazine, maybe Kerrang or something. But I was like, yeah, we deal with the realities of life, the things that people can relate to. We don't sing about Dungeons and Dragons and all that stuff. But as I grew as a person, I realized that, like, a lot of Iron Maiden's lyrics deal more with history.
Mm-hmm.
Not so much, and it's more metaphorically, but there's a lot of great substance to their lyrics. So sometimes you can, judge something and not really, dig deep enough into it to get the real picture, which is okay, which is fine. And I also get it that people, like the Biohazard thing, sometimes people just want to come and stage dive,
Mm-hmm.
and that's cool. There's an entertainment factor to music that I love too. We all have that pressure that builds up, and you got to get out to a show, which I can't imagine how it's going to be, bro. When people are able to come and go see bands again, it's going to be like fucking madhouse energy release.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's funny. One of the other, we have a stack of these kind of slightly out there questions, and one of them is whether people have whether the guest has a kind of a guilty pleasure of a band that they listen to that you kind of that they secretly listen to, or it's kind of like people would be shocked if I admitted I listened to that band. But at the end of the day, it really, to me, the more I've kind of looked at that question, although it's still an entertaining question, at the end of the day, if music just brings somebody joy, then really it's because funny enough, talking about crying as well, this is ridiculous. There is a video of Psy doing Gangnam Style in some square in Korea, and there's like 500,000 people there. And if I put that on, I'll be in tears within 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And it is literally just because the reaction of the audience. And at one point, about 3/4 of the way through the song, he takes his shirt off. Now, Psy is this podgy, he's this podgy little, Kim Jong-un kind of looking guy. And it just makes me cry, because it's just, it's 500,000 people just in raptures and people being happy. And at the end of the day, I know, like you were talking about with your lyrics there, you've absolutely got to have the darkness to have the light. But at the end of the day, there's nothing wrong with being happy.
Nope. And I think it's changed a lot. I don't know how old you are, but we've seen a lot of things in our lifetimes. And people are more acceptable to, like, your question was like, what other music do I listen to? But people are more open to different things. Like younger generation, Generation Z, they'll have Slayer next to Skrillex, next to Jay-Z, and whatever the new mumble rapper is. So like, and it's okay. They're okay with that. And so people from people closer, that grew up in the 90s and early 2000s and stuff, those are the ones who might be shocked that I listen to Susie and the Banshees or The Cure or a lot of the English Gothic stuff. I love all the Joy Division. So
Robert Smith and Stroke is awesome. So.
I just saw a great clip of him. It was when they got inducted into the Hall of Fame, and this journalist was super excited to interview him, and she said, "Oh my God, this is so amazing!" Blah, 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 blah. She's super peppy and hyped up, and she said, "How excited are you to be inducted into the Hall of Fame?" And he said, "Well, apparently not as excited as you are." It's fucking classic English humor. And here's a funny one on that tip. So it's the Americans, the Yanks don't understand the difference between our sense of humor and an English sense of humor. But the English understand there's a huge difference, and you guys wind us up and you bust our balls and take the piss, and I get it now. But for years, we never understood it, and I remember Kerrang used to fucking take the piss out of us and wind it. They would just like, and we were like Brooklyn kids. We're like, these motherfuckers. Who the fuck do they think they are talking? We took it so serious. And then, and they knew it would get us. And we kind of, maybe it came across and we do interviews because they kind of supported us. But it wasn't until we were at a Kerrang Awards one night and we were all partying and drinking and having a great time. And they saw that we had a sense of humor. And then it changed. Mm-hmm. It was cool. And then for some reason it clicked. We understood, oh, it's okay to just call Evan fat. But it's okay. It was funny. And then we kind of lightened up a little bit, and we didn't take ourselves so seriously, and we started honestly having more fun. I don't know if you support. I know Kerrang's changed over the years, but it was a funny, great moment, and maybe the fact that at the time the record label had put Biohazard vodka bottles on every table as a giveaway gift. Had something to do with it, but
actually something you said there, and this is as you say, I think it's definitely an English thing, but it should translate worldwide. Again, it kind of goes back to the whole me not being terribly well. My wife just takes the piss out of me. She takes the piss out of me horrendously. It's literally, if I can't do something because of the cancer, she'll go, oh, great, it's man cancer today, is it? Right? Now, it's like, the thing is, you've got two choices. You either spend the rest of your days being miserable as fuck, or you say, well, I've got this and I'm going to get on with it. And that is an English thing. And I've always said to people about humor when people get offended. To me, it's the same with race. It's the same with everything. It's down to one word. And that word to me is intent. If you say something to intentionally hurt somebody, it doesn't actually matter whether you say something good, bad, indifferent, racist, non-racist, whatever. It's your intent. And like I said, I will do something. We've both, funnily enough, she has multiple sclerosis. She's been incredibly lucky with it. It's not been debilitating to speak of at all. But she'll have the occasional flare up. And the last few weeks, we've been doing this ridiculous thing where I'll kind of get to get up, or she'll get to get up, and there'll just be a moment there. It's like, shit, I did that too quick, and she'll grab a chair, and I will literally go to her, and the Oscar for best over dramatic, right? And we will just rib each other. And at the end of the day, it's like, you have to, and I've always said to people, it is intent. And as you say, the English sense of humor is, all right, you fucking wanker, that's just the way you do it. But there's no intent there. In fact, it tends to be a kind of a man way of just saying, yeah, I love this bloke, but I'm not going to fucking tell him,
Yeah, I don't know if they have it in England, but here there's a saying: intent is 3/4 of the law. So in real life, it's true. It can go both ways.
Definitely,
so,
definitely.
That's funny. Your wife and I would definitely get along. My wife is the type of I'm the type of dude who's like, yeah, my wife's awesome. Behind every great man is a great woman, and then she'll turn around and she'll be like, yeah, smirking.
Yeah.
So.
The other classic one is she was married before we met, and it was one of these great situations where we're still all kind of friends and everything was good, so there was no hassles. But she will, on occasion, if there's something I can't do, she'll go, that's all right, I'll call Brian, who's an ex-husband, right? And it's just, and again, right, we both know there is nothing to it. It's just funny. It is just funny. And of course, it gets to the stage where on occasions, if there's something I can't do, I'll just say to her, look, I can't do this. And before you say it, you don't have to worry. I've already called Brian, and it's like, because you just have to laugh at life. If you don't, I mean, it's just going to drive you crazy otherwise.
Oh my God, dude. It was one time. I said there's a lot of parallels here. We were on tour. My wife was on tour with me, and after the show, I'm like talking to a bunch of kids, and we're just hanging out, and signing T-shirts or whatever. And couple of kids I remember were asking me about jujitsu. Oh man, you're like, I know you're a martial artist, and blah blah blah, and you're a pretty tough dude. And I'm like, no man, I'm just a regular guy. And my wife butts in and says, he's not that tough. Every night in bed, he screams, "Don't touch my feet. Your feet are cold." And and the kids look at her like, who's that? I'm like, babe, can you go on the bus, please?
Yes. Oh, I can definitely feel you on that one.
What's that saying? What's that saying? It takes a lifetime to build a reputation, and it's a second to ruin it. Throw it away.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Or a sarcastic wife.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. Again, completely different direction. What was the last video game you played?
Oh, last video game I played? Ark. Yeah. Yeah. Was that the last game?
PS4 game,
yeah,
is that?
PS4. What's the last video? Well, I'm going to ask my son right now. What was the last video game? Was it Ark I played last week? What was the last video game I played?
Oh, on PS4?
Yeah.
You didn't play?
No, it was... Oh, it had to be... What's the game? 360 game.
Was it the snowboarding game?
No, it's snowboarding. Yeah, it was Ark. Ark I like a lot. And GTA. So here's a funny story about GTA.
Oh, GTA 5, of course.
Now my son loves it, right? So we were coming up. These two dudes came to the manager's office in New York, and we had this song called the Biohazard song called 5 Blocks of Subway, and they pitched this idea. They wanted to base a game around the song, and they said your song deals with your neighborhood in Brooklyn and going to Flatbush Avenue and getting the train at the junction in Flatbush, and it's like, and even though it was, we never tell him, but the song for poetic reason, it was like 9 blocks or I can't remember. It wasn't 5 blocks, but for the sake of the song, we said it was 5 blocks. It was a little bit longer, right? But anyways, and the song was just about the people, the people you came in contact with and the obstacles that you had to deal with, right? So these guys pitched us this idea, and we're like, nah, man, it's not our thing. We're not sellouts. It's our integrity is everything. We're not here. We make music. We're not here to sell our music to a video game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Soon after that, bands like Korn came up, and they got an endorsement with Adidas.
Yeah,
and then it wasn't as sour in everybody's mouth when it suddenly changed. So that game, the company, those dudes went out to form Rockstar Games, and that game became GTA. Well, you know what?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I still have my integrity. It's still a funny story to tell, and I'd rather, because we went on to do a lot of great things.
Yeah.
And who knows if that would have kind of been a nail in our coffin or whatever, because integrity was everything, and it still is. But back then, it was coming up as a kid. It was something that we stood proud behind.
Yeah.
Pepsi asked us to do a commercial for them, and I remember we were like, "No, that's not." Oh, we just want to write a song. Our manager's like, "You'll make so much money." Like, it's not about the money.
No, that is very true. Yeah.
I remember it was a band. Who was a band from Boston? The Boss Tones did a song for Pepsi. I think they did a Pepsi commercial or something. But I remember seeing that, and I was like, "Yeah, it works for them, but it's still not us. It's not a Biohazard thing, Nobody knows that about Biohazard. People see us as, I remember looking back and MTV, we were like, they loved us, and they did a lot of helping us spread what we were doing. But it got so big, so fast, out of hand that when people started liking us because of our videos, because Beavis and Butthead liked us, and they didn't know our lyrics, then I was like, this is a red flag. This is not.
Yeah.
They're not going to be around forever. And so I think a lot of our core audience lost respect for us because it was beyond, honestly, it was beyond our control, but it was beyond their reach. They were like, people that like the mainstream masses who are into, the changing trends are onto them now, and I'm not into them anymore. I remember sitting down, we were going to Europe, and we went to go see Faith No More, and they were on The Real Thing, I think. I think they were on the Real thing, and it was big in the States, but it wasn't massive yet. And they were already big in Europe. And they told us, we were hanging out backstage, and they were like, we're going to Europe for the first time, blah blah blah. They're like, listen, you guys, they're fucking amazing. They're so loyal. As long as you stay true to who you are and what you do, and you don't sell out, they will always be in your corner. And those guys, and then they came out, with Angel Dust, and they had a record, King for a Day, Fool for a Lifetime, which I thought was the most genius title ever. And it was poignant, and then I understood, then I saw it, and I watched things with, I won't go into them now, but I watched things change around with certain members of the band, and things, here and there, but it's all in the book.
So, got 3 final questions for you. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Best piece of advice? A lot. I've always been one to listen, carefully to when people have something to say. I would say, I guess the probably the most helpful advice was from my pop, even though there's a whole long list of things from my father and many other people that I've always looked up to. There's 2. I'm going to give you 2. My father said, he said to me, "Don't worry, you can always sleep," and that helped me do the things that I want to do in life. I'll figure out a way. I'll figure out time to catch up on the sleep. I get to do this. And another piece of advice was, I studied piano as a kid. My mom forced me, thank God, to study piano since I was 6. And my piano teacher would smash me with a ruler on my hand every time I made a mistake, because she knew I wasn't practicing, and I would lie to her and say, of course I practiced. And then after 2 years with her, I graduated up to her husband, who didn't have a ruler, but he had a hand, and he would smack the back of my head. These days, that doesn't happen, obviously, and it can't happen.
Yeah.
It's a whole different world.
Yeah.
But eventually, I think I lasted a year with the old man, with the father, or the husband, I mean, and then went to my grandfather and uncle. And they both, in their own ways, told me the most helpful thing for me and not just with music, but it was pertaining to music. Learn as much as you can, then throw it away and play from your heart. That's it. And I use that for writing. I use that for creative writing. I was English composition wasn't a strong thing for me as a kid, but when I remember getting a couple columns in different magazines, in the late 90s, because I was able to, once I realized, okay, I wasn't good at writing because I was so worried about the grammar or the punctuation. So once I threw that out, I just let the words flow out, told my stories, and then I go back and correct it. So I didn't interrupt the flow by having to worry about sentence structure or grammatical errors or whatever. And that helped me. Same thing with music. I don't worry about staying in key. I just play what's there, what's in my heart, let it flow. And then I remember, I'm sorry, dude, I go off, I talk a lot.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
So I was going to tell you a funny story about musical theory. Becoming a punk, like, that's my roots, punk rock. And punk rock, I saw it wasn't important how well you played, but it was important how you played it. And that's what captured me. I was like, wow, this guy's fucking making mistakes, but he's fucking passionate. You can't deny that. Listen to it. And it wasn't just the punk rock stuff. I mean, thrash metal, there was a lot of punk in the thrash metal and the underground metal scene that I was seeing. But Bobby, my lead guitar player of Biohazard, he said to me once, he goes, a lot of stuff you write, dude, it's chromatic. It's very hard to play leads over. Can you write something in key? I'm like, no, but that's my thing. That's what I like. I like, going to the wrong notes, in theory. Mm-hmm. He goes, yeah, but dude, it's so fucking hard to write over it. And he became very proficient and it created his style of bluesy kind of style over those kind of discord, those riffs, chromatic things. But so I remember through that conversation, I said, so like what? Like you want me to write something in harmonic minor? Would that be cool with you? Because it's close, kind of chromatic. I don't know if you play at all, but so he was like,
I used to, yeah.
All right, so you understand. So he was like, yeah, that would be fucking awesome to have something in key. So I went back and I wrote Punishment, which was one of the biggest Biohazard songs ever. And it was out of a conversation of Bobby saying, "Can you write something in key?" I was like, "Sure, kind of." And there's still a lot of chromatic things to it, but it's based, a lot of the riffs are based around harmonic minor scales. So it worked. It worked on both sides for me.
Brilliant.
Funny story.
So, last two questions. This is actually one of the few music-related questions, but what's the best concert that you've ever been to that you weren't playing at?
Ooh. Oh, there's so many, dude. Meaning like I didn't play earlier in the day, or
like I guess specifically a concert that you've specifically gone to that you've not been on the bill at all.
Okay, because there were some cool ones that I remember watching.
Oh well, I'll take both. No, I'll take both. Give us the ones where you've been on the bill first. Then
I remember it was a weird run, and it was kind of like a tour, but we just happened to do like a whole run of festivals together. But it was Biohazard, Prodigy, and David Bowie.
Oh wow!
And I remember it was like maybe probably like a dozen festivals. So there was runs. So it was almost like a small tour together. But I remember watching with David Bowie. We were watching Prodigy on stage one night, and we had both already played, and it was Prodigy was closing out the night, and something went wrong on stage, and I don't know if you know those dudes, but they started smashing their gear, and it went beyond the drum set and the amplifier. And then they started picking up, the big moving lights. That I'm like, they're not fake lights, because sometimes bands that have that part of their show, they have a fake cabinet or a fake guitar, and the tech glues it back together the next day. That's the reality behind the fake rock and roll. Sorry to ruin it for you guys, but that's how it is. So I've broken guitars on stage, and they were never glued back together after, and they weren't hacksawed before. So anyways, they start like smashing shit, bro. Sure, they're like, the big moving lights. Leon's picking them up and fucking throwing them. Maxim's like just like tossing things. I'm like, this is fucking expensive. This is real. And so I keep we're looking at stage, all these things, and David Bowie turns to me. He's like, I think it's about time we leave, because they were disregarding they didn't care who was on stage. So David Bowie and I turn around and walk away. The fucking nicest dude I've ever met. It was phenomenal. Like, if there's anybody that you expect to be, a little bit beyond, touchable, beyond reachable, beyond like assimilating to and like getting along with, he could rightfully be like that. And I'm like, okay, it's cool. You're David Bowie. It's not a song you wrote that I don't respect and like. Anyways, he wasn't. He was like a regular fucking bloke. It was such an honor to be like hang out with the dude. Anyways, that was that. A show that I went to, it would probably have to be I've had the honor of being able to go see a few Knot Fests.
Okay. Yeah.
And those and they're always here in the States, and they've always been great. And everything else, all the other great shows. I mean, there's, of course, we were able to catch The Doors with Ian Astbury singing, which I thought was fucking amazing. But all the other great shows, like watching, Rob Halford and Judas Priest. I'm standing between the barricade and the stage, and standing there right there, and Rob's singing, and he looks down and points at you and looks at you, and I'm like, holy fuck. Because you meet somebody off stage, and you're an up and coming artist, and he's a class. It's an honor, and it's great. It's fucking so amazing. But then you're like, he's not gonna remember me. But then you're on stage, and the dude's singing, and he's still killing it. Anyways, but those great moments. There's a lot of things. I got to say, because I'm always on tour, a lot of the great shows I've seen them. Luckily, I've been blessed to see them for free with the backstage pass.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's so fucking pompous sounding, but reality. And maybe I think seeing, when I was a little kid, my friend's father took me to see Van Halen, which was mind blowing. It was phenomenal. And then as a Kiss being my first band that I really fell in love with before punk
Yeah.
rock. It was like the big rock and roll thing, and the entertainment side stuck in my head. And my uncle, who became a surgeon, was a huge rock and roll guy. He had a prog band called Liquid Light, and I saw them play in front of 5,000 people in Boston as a little kid. And I was like, I want to do that one day. So all those things came together. And then, so yeah, that was impactful. My uncle's band was impactful. They all had, it was prog. It was, I was a little kid. I think I was just started playing piano. I was 6 years old, and they were all wearing costumes, weird, like it was in this theatrical. It was very theatrical, and there was like 5,000 people in this theater, and I was like, wow. And back then, anyway.
Yeah, no, I mean, I totally know what you mean, because the first show, and this will give you a clue of my generation. The first show I ever saw was was a band playing at our high school, and it was Rush.
Oh my God. That's amazing.
Yeah,
dude.
and they played at high school, and I was just like, wow, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. Because although I'm English, I was actually I was brought up just across the border from Buffalo. I was on the Canadian border, a little place called Fort Erie.
That's right. Yeah, and they're Canadian.
Yeah. So they played at high school because that was what they were doing in those days. They were playing high schools, and you know, I kind of so I kind of saw them, and then fortunately, I had an older friend who worked at the auditorium in Buffalo, who got us tickets for everything. So at that point, and during that kind of time, I got to see AC/DC, Whitesnake, basically every band that I loved growing up. So kind of had probably a 5-6 year period where Scorpions, every single band that I just adored, I got to see, you know, which was amazing. So I totally get what you mean about what the music does to you, you know.
It's life changing.
Yeah, definitely.
And to see those guys, I got another funny story about that stuff. But that had to be the first Rush was self-titled, right? And so that was had to be before the first record.
Yes.
Then.
Oh, yeah. This was literally, like I said, they were just playing. They were playing. I mean, the show they played for us was literally directly when school finished. It was just like, if you want to stay, you know, if you want to, the principal was like, if you want, you know, if you want to stay on and watch this band called Rush, you know, they'll be in the auditorium. So it's like that, you know. So.
Oh my God, that's class. That's amazing.
Yeah, and there were.
That's right, and it. So you watched them. You were a fan, probably, and then you watched them become huge.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I mean, there were well, I would say 40 people in that auditorium.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Small high school, you know. So
yeah, that's there was. So here's another funny story. It's kind of similar. Sendog told me the story. He came from a place in LA called South Beach. I was going to say South Park. Not South Beach. Southgate. Right. And
okay, yeah.
So he was this Cuban dude. He came here when he was like maybe 12, I think. But he grew up with his other Cuban in the same neighborhood in Southgate. And the other band that came up out of Southgate, just like Cypress Hill, played there. He was talking to this friend of his, this Cuban friend of his, and his buddy said to him, "Hey, Send, tomorrow my band's going to play the quad." And so the schools in California, they're all outdoor, like there's no hallways connecting them, because you go from class to class and you walk outside, because it's 99% of the time it's not raining.
Yeah.
So the kid they have this. The quad is the area between a bunch of buildings where the kids sit and eat lunch. And at lunchtime sometimes they have bands play.
Mm-hmm.
So the kid comes up to Stan and says, "Hey, buddy, my band's playing tomorrow. You should come and check us out." So that was Dave Lombardo, and Slayer was the band who played his lunchroom.
Oh wow!
So, right. So there's this band I've been producing called Ravage Realm, and they're like young kids from Southgate. They send me a picture. They say, "Oh, tomorrow we're playing the quad," and I'm like, "They're from Southgate." And before I could say, "Wait a minute, let me tell you a story," they sent me the next. By the time I got to replying them, they had sent me a picture of them playing the next day. And it's exact same picture that Sen showed me of Slayer playing.
Oh,
and
wow.
it was same thing. There was like Slayer had like maybe 40 people.
Yeah.
And the same thing with these young kids.
Yeah.
This band Ravage Realm, bro, they're fucking making a lot of noise in LA. We almost had them a record deal before the pandemic hit. We'll get back onto it. But anyways, same thing. There was like maybe 20 people there. They're all their friends. It looked exactly the same as when Slayer played. Slayer just released some photos of that too, which I thought was pretty cool.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Have you heard? I'm sorry.
No, go on.
I'm taking up too much of your time.
No, you're not. No.
Just press delete or hang up on me.
No way.
Have you seen the memes about the pandemic? Because the minute Slayer decides to quit, the world goes to fucking hell.
No, I haven't seen those.
Yeah, it was classic. Because they literally, I think I saw them in LA and people would just start. I think it was literally beginning of March. When was their last tour?
Ooh.
I saw them. They played in LA. Oh, it was November. My bad.
Yeah, I was going to say it was right at the end of the year, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. My wife, the family was gone. I just came home from tour, and that's right. I went to see him play in LA the last show.
Yep.
Anyways, but still, they close out the year, and then fucking shit goes to hell. We were lucky to be on. We did one of I think the last big tours of Europe. It was the Persistence tour, which isn't by MAD, but it was with Billy Bio, Agnostic Front, H2O, Wisdom and Change, Gorilla Biscuits, Count Time, Cutthroat, a lot of who else? Wisdom and Change, H2O, Street Dogs.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, it was like a massive, great tour. Every night was phenomenal.
Yeah.
We ended in London, and I remember London was when Kobe crashed.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Talking. I'm at the merch booth talking to people, and a young kid came up to me and said, "Did you hear what happened to Kobe?" I'm like, "No." And the kid told me. It was like, "What?" And it was really weird, odd news.
Mm.
And then we come home, and then you start hearing rumblings. We all came home with coughs, crazy cough. I still got remnants of it, but
which actually does bring me to the last question, which is the only one that is the same question every week. When you are no more, what would you want people to say about you?
That dude fucking rocked everything he did.
Absolutely.
That's it.
And can I add, he gave away a shitload of socks.
That's my dream. Please help me give away socks. That's all I want to do.
Well, we will talk further by email, as we've done for the last couple of weeks anyway, and we'll look at all the logistics of how the site and the podcast can help you do that, because we absolutely are going to do that for you. But again, thank you so much for being on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure, and everything we've discussed we'll put in the show notes. So the bands you mentioned, obviously the whole Crew Socks thing, we'll give loads of coverage to. And finally, again, just thank you for being an absolute star. It's been a real pleasure to have you on the show.
I appreciate your time, man. It's really good meeting you.
So, I hope you enjoyed the show. If you have, please do consider subscribing and also leaving us a review, as it does help greatly with the rankings. Also, if you have suggestions for future guests, please reach out to us on Facebook, Instagram, X, etc. We would love to hear your ideas, and we would love to hear from you. Thanks very much.